Hi everybody, and welcome to the channel. Travel for us today is really about waking up each morning and letting the day show us something new. Sometimes that means figuring out unfamiliar products, trying foods we've never heard of, or navigating places where nothing feels familiar. But honestly, that's exactly what we signed up for. New experiences, new challenges, and a full year of full-time travel throughout 2026. But before we jump into where we are now, we want to share how we actually got here. We didn't retire one day and suddenly decide to travel the world. This journey started long before that, with retirement planning, with asking ourselves if we really could leave work behind, with wondering whether we'd run out of money, and with life events, friendships, early dreams, health insurance decisions, and family conversations that shaped everything we're doing today. All of those pieces, the practical ones and the emotional ones, led us to this moment. And now we're excited to see how this year unfolds. Let's go back to the beginning, and we will share those real-life pivots.
Well, greetings. We wanted to say hello to our friends, our family, our co-workers where we just retired. We hope you're healthy and happy, and we are thinking of you all. Just a lot has happened, and as far as how we ended up here, it's a whole story, and we kind of want to share that with you all, and to give you.
And here is Australia.
Yeah, here is Australia. But we kind of want to, I guess, move this back to the conversation. How did we even get here?
Right.
I don't know if you can hear the birds in the background, but interesting conversation. We didn't just really wake up one day and decide we were going to travel, and it actually kind of evolved over time. But first and foremost, again, we hope everyone's doing well. We do miss you all. Our plans actually started with reaching out to several of you. I know you reached out to a couple folks you work with, and as well, and just we knew that some of you traveled to a few of the things we were looking at this year, and just to get your advice. And then of course, life happens and things changed, and next thing you know, our plans changed. So we didn't just really retire and decide we're going to travel full time. There's a lot that led up to this.
Right. So let's talk about that. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. We started our journey early on downsizing. We wanted to simplify. We did not want to have a large house, large expenses. We wanted to eliminate as many expenses as we could get over, and you just simplify. We wanted newer things. So
less maintenance.
Yeah, I didn't want a big HVAC.
Right.
We actually put a through-the-wall unit, so new, simple to replace and do.
Less bathrooms to clean. Just the whole maintenance.
Yeah.
And less cleaning, and just easier. That's what we were looking for.
If you don't know already, and most of our friends and family do, we sold our house when the kids started to get married and move out and started their lives, and we built us a tiny house. And I know it's glamorous, and we always get the people that are intrigued by what we did because they've seen it on TV. But at the same time, it's one of those, no, I would never do that type of thing. Usually is the reaction we get. Where do you go when you want your private time, things like that. And there are things about that, but for us, it just helped us to make our goals a little bit more solid, particularly financially for retiring. We knew we wanted a simple retirement, and getting those numbers to work, that's really what we were focused on. So for us, it did work, and it just opened up opportunity.
Right.
Opportunity we hadn't yet thought about. So moving past some of that, planning, we started our year just kind of looking at what are we going to do?
Right.
Where are we going to go? And obviously the kids, right? You want to go see the kids first.
Gotta go.
So we made plans to go see the kids, and we visited and spent time, probably worn out our welcome. But anyway, we did that, and we come back to the house, and we do another little short trip. We were like, oh, look, we've never been to the state literally next door to us here in the United States. And so, we threw ourselves into work. And so we're like, let's go do that. It's short. Right. We can go spend some time and see things we've never got to see. And we thoroughly enjoyed that. Along the way, what we realized is you could spend a lot of money on travel. And so we actually converted our Toyota Sienna minivan into kind of like a camper van. I got on Amazon and got us a twin-size bed, believe it or not, and took out all the seats in the van, put this metal steel frame in the back, and found us it's a full-size Tempur-Pedic mattress. It's one of those little trifolds that you can get, great for company and things.
Right.
And so the full-size sounded good, but it was hard to get this into our van because of the wheel wells and how it would fit in around it. So the twin size fit well on that. And I actually adapted and took those little mattress pad bumpers that you can get and turned them wrong way out to just give it a little support if you were kind of sitting on the edge of the bed. And we had some battery boxes that we had for lithium for storms and things like that. So we'd realized some of these little things we'd done for storm prep fit into this. So we started integrating those products, and then we're like, what do we do about heat and air? And we did buy a little EcoFlow that worked for the most part really well, because you did need both heat on days and air conditioning on days.
Right.
And of course we just hey, we threw this together and traveled out into some of the hottest days of the year, and it was tough. Those little units only get you down to about maybe 10 degrees or so. So we started trying to think about where we go to avoid that.
Right. And it was good though, because we could tweak our plans.
Yes.
Because the main thing that we wanted to do, or that I wanted to do, and I think you were like, yeah, let's do it, was to go to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. So along the way, we started refining our setup, what things we needed with us, and just started thinking, we might want to travel out west. We'd rarely ever been past the Mississippi, to be honest. And what led us to this, we actually went out to eat with your sister and our brother-in-law, and we just sat down and had a nice meal and just kind of getting to share some more time together. And we actually ran into another couple from church.
Right.
And they were like, oh, you're going to the Grand Canyon. And we're like, yeah, we were so excited to tell everything, Not that you always want to do that, because some people don't have the opportunity to take a vacation trip.
And especially when you say, we're going to be camping in our van.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
the other
sort of
thing.
Changes for some people.
People
but
start
for
to give you the
them,
look, like, really?
They were excited because they had talked about the exact same thing.
Yeah, so there are the commonalities on that. So not only just sometimes we get the looks about the tiny house, but we also get those looks about converting and living in our van. But for us, it gave us that financial ability to do that. We knew we couldn't go out and pay for hotels every single day of the week. Also, when we first got started, we would kind of feel a little uncomfortable in some of these locations. People brought in their really nice campers.
Right.
And, so we were like, what do they think of us? And you know what? The people are just really nice.
Yeah.
And they were like, don't worry about that. What they said is actually, if you're thinking about going out to the Grand Canyon, a lot of the parks, if you want to be right there in them, you can't bring out these big rigs. And so they really started getting into how, even in their case, they're like, you want to know how much I paid for this? I'm going to tell you anyway. And I'm like, I never asked. But we would sit and closely listen to their experiences and what they did. And it really kind of shaped what we were planning to do. And we realized after we really got underway how valuable that information was.
Right, because we were doing things that they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was just the community of people that we, sharing some of these same experiences.
I never really thought I'd be a campground person or something like that, but again, it was just that things we were doing in common. So we begun our journey out west, and again, the government shutdown started. Not to get into politics, but it does make a difference when a lot of your plans are going to national parks.
Right.
So,
but we adapted.
Yeah, some of them were great. Some of them actually helped us have not so great of a crowd. Some of them we had to change and figure out where are we staying tonight. Right. Just because you're sleeping in your van doesn't mean you can sleep anywhere.
Right.
But it was an experience, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. But we get back home, and if you want to know more about that trip, I bet we can make a whole video on that, because we actually spent almost 3 months doing that.
Right.
But we get back home and we're like, now what? We were close to the end of the year. We were thinking about health insurance, trying to figure out what does that look like, how much is it going to cost us. I mean, we planned the first year, but this stuff changes each year during your open enrollments and things like that. And we were seeing the prices go up. I mean, you can get on a lot of the healthcare exchanges or price some of these things privately yourself, and we realized a minimum for us to have average coverage was going to cost us about $1,200 a month, or several $1,000s a year. And so we just started thinking about it. So next thing I know, we were talking to some coworkers, and we're like, hey, we found this best deal. We're like, we can do this now. We can shop for when everybody else is not taking their summer vacations, or they're not doing the high points of travel, and we can get those sail cruises. And we found a really nice cruise. We started talking to some friends of mine that I work with. They got really excited about it. Next thing I know, we're doing a cruise together.
Right.
And then we're like, we could actually take this and extend out the times just a little bit. And so we started looking at that and started planning all of this. Now, to kind of jump back just a little bit, before we got into all of how those changes took us, we're still talking about with family the things that we were doing, and just leading up to retirement. If you don't mind to share a little bit about your parents.
Well, my parents, both within a couple of years, had passed away. And with that, which we have a video talking about how we become minimalistic. It was more because I had to clean out my parents' house. And that was emotional. It was hard. It was hard to say, let's get rid of this. Let's keep this. And and a lot of what I did, which was hard, bear with me, was that I took things from their house and just brought it into our tiny house, which was not the best idea.
Yeah, we tried to organize, figure out how we could find out if other family wanted this item or that item. Maybe it was something they had as a kid. Is that something we need to hand down to grandkids, or any, things like that, things that had sentimental value.
But it's just hard. So if you want, you can go back and watch that video. But yeah, it was emotional, and I would like to say that we have completed that process, but there are a few things that I just
and so that was a factor of we've got to commit to this tiny house thing, because we don't want our kids doing just that.
And that was the whole thing, because whenever you went through something, you don't want your kids going through the same thing or having to make those decisions should something, happen.
And then, really thinking about work. Work was one of those things that while we're working, you make tough choices sometimes, and you don't always make everybody happy. Most of the time you're like, well, what does the policy say, or what's this procedure, what's the handbook say? And You give them an answer, and the first reaction is sometimes that's good, but sometimes it wasn't. And you're like, well, surely they understand these are not my rules. I'm just, I'm kind of saying what the work rule is or that kind of thing. And it does take a toll on you, but it also changes your thinking.
Right.
And I started to spend a lot of my time, I felt like it was 24/7. I was just consumed with, how do I solve this problem? How do you try to make everybody happy and fulfilled in their career and things like that? And I will admit, a lot of times I get home in the evenings and you get that stress off of you for just a little bit. I'd fall asleep most of the time, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I've got it. I know, here's an idea. And I realized that was even consuming my dreams.
Right.
Of trying to solve these problems. But when we first all of a sudden get ready to retire, we're like, wait a minute, those things that you didn't always agree with at work are no longer, like you had to make tough choices, and you're like, I probably would have on a personal level done or said something different anyway, but this is what the policy or procedure says. And it started changing our thinking. So not only were we thinking financially about our tiny house, the kids cleaning out the house, but we were also like, wait a minute, who are we?
Who are we going to become? Because we had both been in our jobs for several years. And
talking to this couple that we went out to eat, we're like, wait a minute, as much as people are different, we've got a lot of commonalities.
Right.
And it was just interesting to see, they also had this dream of doing this trip and travel, and I think probably most people do when they're young. And so we really took a moment back to reflect on, what is it that we do want to do in retirement? Why didn't we think about this beforehand?
Right.
Again, a lot of it was just time. And we started to just kind of look at that. And honestly, throwing ourselves into that quick travel going out west was something we wanted to do, but even after that, it just felt like it was coming to an end, like we didn't know.
Right.
And to find out after that, health insurance really started to shape what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So we looked at health insurance, and again, I mentioned the cost on it. So we started looking and started thinking, what if you could travel to some of these destinations and just spend a little of that difference on health insurance? And that's what we were kind of looking at. Well, what if, because we quickly learned if we go to some of these destinations, you may not be covered.
Right.
So we stopped and looked at that, and this cruise is it. This will give us about 30 days to travel. Somebody else does the driving. Right. Somebody else does the cooking.
It was a repositioning cruise.
We're not alone.
Right.
We're going to another country, but we'll have some friends that we know going with us. Until that fell apart. And for reasons that actually kind of shifted it. We started getting these messages, and we haven't ever really done a cruise that goes to a lot of different locations like that. It was like, we've got to go get vaccinations. Right. We're like, oh, okay, vaccinations. If it starts in this port out in Australia, what do we got to do for Australia? We're like, we could just go in on a tourist visa. I don't think you got to do anything.
Right. We didn't know. We had never really traveled outside the country, had to deal with visas, anything like that. So.
And then the cruise starts to notify us. Well, we've ran into planning problems, and I don't remember the words they used. Yeah. They couldn't pull into the port that we wanted. Right. So they'd either skip the port, and it wasn't a lot of ports anyway because it was a repositioning cruise. So, but we were okay with that. It was still going to fill some time and let us just kind of figure out life.
Right.
And, something fun we thought to do at the time. And then it was like, well, we're going to go to these other ports, and we're like, but we don't really care about
I don't want to
those
go there.
destinations.
I was looking forward to these ports.
Yeah, we got so excited. You reached out to a prior co-worker that actually lived at some of these, and we're like, what do we do?
What do we do? Where do we go?
And they were excited for us.
Yes.
They even, I think their exact words were, why don't you adopt us to go? So, I mean, that really kind of pumped us up that we were doing something exciting. And then we're talking with our friends that were going, and they're like, oh gosh, did you know that this changed and this changed? And next thing we were like, okay, I guess we're not doing the cruise. It just didn't meet what we wanted to initially do.
Right.
We've got airfare still to go to Australia, and we took the cheapest ones we could get, but it's still costly when you fly over 8,000 miles. That distance, it's not super cheap. And like I said, we'd already planned to spend a little time before the cruise. We just wanted to see the area. And so we got to look, and we're like, well,
what if? I remember saying that. What if
yeah,
we did, and we started looking at what if we backed it up even further? What if we moved it out further? What if? And
Yeah.
that's always a thing, which, I think sort of helped us. What if we don't do the normal?
yeah.
So what if we don't do the normal?
Yeah, and so we got to thinking, well, could we stay longer? And we get to check in, and it was like, no. If you've applied, and we did this neat little thing where we learned you take your passport and you scan over it with an app, and it scans your passport, and basically you apply for that tourist visa. And then we're like, but it's not going to fit our travel timelines. Right. And so we're like, well, what do we do about that? And then we realized, there was another visa
right.
application we could do, and that would fit, and that would let us spend some time. Really, we were kind of being cheap.
Right.
I didn't want to buy another expensive air flight home or elsewhere, and we're just trying to, what could we do while we're here to experience another country and kind of just learn about the people and culture, but not break the bank again. So we're going back to work. And that kind of evolved. Well, along the way, our daughter reaches out to us and says, hey, we were thinking we get this time off during the summer, and we kind of want to actually go over to Europe and do this cruise. And we're like, oh gosh, we just canceled the cruise. Cruises can be a little pricey time you do all the things.
And the thinking was, okay, so we'll finish up with our trip to Australia, we'll fly back home, which is not
a little pricey,
it's
but
a long flight too. And then we'll go back to Europe and meet up with our daughter.
Obviously we can't pass that up with our kids.
Right. When your kids want to do something,
and so both our son-in-law and daughter were super excited to do it with us. We were excited to do it with them. So we just felt like we had to.
We had to. So then we start thinking.
So I was like, well, could we go somewhere in between? I mean, we talked about this insurance thing, and just to kind of reveal real world numbers. Again, for our insurance, we were paying maybe $1,200 or more every month. We ended up finding, this is not for everybody if you've got chronic things. It's more of an emergency services type of thing. But we found insurance we could get to cover us for all the year travel. Again, we actually can't come back to the United States except for a few days for $3,000.
Yeah.
So then we're like, oh wow, that opened up almost like $9,000. And we were watching YouTube, and some of these YouTube travel vloggers were like, you can go here and you can stay for a month and to get all your accommodations and your food. And we're like, what if?
What if?
And I can be cheap still and not buy that expensive airfare. So we started looking at some of these, and sure enough, I was like, look, I think we can actually do this. And to be honest, in some of those, we may get a little repetitive in what we eat, but some of that stuff I really could do breakfast and lunch. And really somebody else is cooking the meals. So again, we haven't actually done it yet.
We haven't went there
We just
yet,
know the numbers,
so know.
and so the numbers are at least working for us at the moment. When we get there, I don't know if we'll be hungry or not.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. But anyway, it seems exciting. So that added another destination to our travel.
So then we would be able to plan and meet up with our daughter.
Do a smaller flight. It didn't cost as much. Meet up with her daughter. And then more visa things. We learned a thing called Schengen. I've never heard of Schengen in my life. I didn't know what that meant. maybe people that's traveled know about this, or particularly if you've been to Europe.
We'll put a definition up on the screen.
Yeah. And again, this stuff changes
Right.
monthly or yearly. So I know that there's new electronic things that are happening this year. Actually, they should be a wonderful change to help you track, because I was having to do spreadsheets and count my days to figure out. Essentially, you get about 90 days on a tourist thing.
And
areas. How do you count it?
Yeah.
How does the other person count it? Can you even read the stamp on your passport to make sure the date matches? There's just a lot of things. So the electronic part really should be a solid. You can track it and see. They can track it and see. But it does limit your days. So we learned a couple things on there. Wasn't thinking about the travel time or anything like that. We're just like, yes, we get to be with our kids.
Right.
Until we're like, wait a minute, that's a high tourist season. The weather is generally forecasted to be hot. And I don't think, and yeah, you might say we're spoiled, but I don't think the air condition, or as they say in Australia, the aircon, is quite the same as what we experience in the U.S. And I don't want to sound entitled on that. Even as kids, when we went to school, my school didn't have air conditioning. So that was kind of a new thing until we probably got into high school. Yeah, so, it's not like we haven't lived life without air conditioning, but now that we have it, right?
It's hard to go back.
We're like, well, what could we do about that? And can we get away from the crowds? That was the whole point of travel, was to kind of get away from part of the summer travel with families. That's when you get to go. So then we realized we could go to a neighboring country, maybe get away from the heat, reduce our expenses a little bit, because Europe is it can be pricey.
Right.
Again,
depending on which area you go to and what all you're doing,
and you may even be staying at an accommodation, and a lot of times because of tourism and what it supports, good things. Locally, they may have these taxes that support, so they can handle tourists and things. So what is a base expense starts to add up, essentially, just like any kind of vacation or travel. But yeah, we decided then we could go to a neighboring country, have more experiences, save some dollars. And the great thing was we could come back when the weather was better, the tourists were down, living like a local, or trying to. And I mean, just a thing for us is maybe to see some of the holiday things.
Right.
We would like to see, we've seen some of the countries there in Europe really go all out for some of the holiday decorations. And we even experienced that on our first arrival here in Melbourne. We just missed them really shortly because we left on the 30th. We didn't really get to experience New Year's, and we arrived on New Year's Day. So like the 31st for us was like a whole lost day. Yeah. And we arrived to everybody like, Happy New Year! It's okay. Our evenings don't usually involve really late night stuff anyway. They're more of, we go to bed at 5 o'clock. But,
Not that early.
Yeah. So, again, it was a pivot in some of our travel plans and our finances and what family wanted to do.
And just thinking. It was a change in our thinking, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Because, nobody's in our family has ever done this.
Yeah, that's true too. And there was a lot involved in just like, wow, what do we do? Who's taking care of things at home?
Right.
Do my family need me?
Right.
Like that's the whole point in retiring sometimes, that you can be there for the family that was there for you as a child or whatever, or and so there's that. But we honestly just fell into an opportunity when your parents had passed away, and my parents are doing well. They can probably get along better than we can. And then, our kids, they're kind of out on their own. And so just everything was kind of like on autopilot. And we just kind of, I don't know, we didn't know who we were.
Right.
And so we're like, it just felt like an opportunity to travel. We don't know if we'll continue to travel full time. We'd love to explore more of the world. But it may be that family needs us and stuff. And if that's the case, that's the case. I mean, we want to do that. It's important to us.
And because we've never done this before. I mean, what if we don't like it? What if, what
Yeah.
if we love it? What if we,
Yeah.
there's so many different things. So,
Yeah. And
so
even-
you all are coming along with us on this experiment that we're
Yeah.
doing.
And our friends and co-workers, they've kind of shaped ideas of what we could do, or and so if you're watching this video and you got ideas for us, please continue to share. We don't know what we're doing. We usually wake up each day and like, hey, you want to walk down here? We're just kind of figuring out each day kind of thing. But as far as that goes, we are having a good time.
Yes.
It
And
is
seeing some really beautiful places we would have never thought.
Even our church family, just thinking about all of our times with our kids growing up and things like that. There's just a lot there with that too. And so again, we hope everybody's doing well. And if you're watching our video, thank you. That's just, again, how we got to YouTube.
Right.
Like, we started out taking so many pictures and stuff, we realized we'd be paying for a lot of cloud storage. And so we thought, what if again, me being cheap mostly, I think, what if we actually just uploaded a lot of this onto YouTube? And then we realized people wanted to know what we're doing.
What we're doing. How do you do this?
Yeah. And
what about this?
And so I got excited. I was like, what? Somebody likes to know how we were doing this, because if they really know us, we're pretty cheap. And that was one of our key factors to being able to retire, is how cheap we are. But we also save too. We do save.
We did save.
But I mean, if you've seen our minivan when we actually did our trip, I mean, the paint's peeling off. It's got 200,000 miles on it. We didn't know if we were getting to the next destination, but that was part of the journey.
We would be able to come back home, literally. But
yeah, if it snowed. And we thought we were going to warm areas. Like all I seen online, or I knew of that area, is it was desert. And then one of our first stops, we talked to a wonderful family that took over a family business, and they're like, yeah, we can get 12 foot of snow. And we're like, what?
Wait, what?
Part of the journey, I guess.
It is talking and it's sharing those experiences with where you're at.
Yeah.
and just.
So this is for us, and archiving our experiences, maybe memories that we can look back on. We hope in some way. We created a little finance series on there to like how we went about some of the things. They're not as complicated as what they seem. I actually really enjoyed when I did benefits at work. I'd have a lot of folks come in and they'd want to talk about that, and I'd probably talk them to death. I just loved talking about it. And some of them would be like, maybe I know a better way or whatever, but I just love sharing my experiences about that. So hopefully there's something there for you to learn, and maybe us to learn from you. And I think it also kind of documents a little bit about, maybe even just to remind ourselves, some of the people we meet along the way.
Right.
We realized a lot of this along the way is it's more about the people you meet rather than seeing the beautiful things. But we enjoy both.
Right. Just sharing the experiences.
And then, to really go over, not everybody travels the same way. And just to kind of go over what some of our real life cost of doing things. There are different ways to travel if this is something you want to do. Don't think you can't, because like for us, it was just a difference in health insurance mostly. And then, I don't know, there's an emotional journey to this. You kind of miss our folks at home. You almost feel guilty, to your coworkers that may still be working. You just feel like maybe people, what if they need you and we're so far away? How do we even get home? It's not an easy thing once you're on the other side of the planet, literally, to just say, hey, let's go book a airplane ticket and we can be home, because we know it took 24 hours to even get somewhere. So I don't know. There's a lot in this journey. And so right now we're enjoying it. We hope everything's exciting and just, I don't know, turns out to be a great adventure for this year. But we're going to take you with us. And so we're going to talk more probably about our downsizing. I think we'll definitely talk more about maybe some of our camper van trip adventures, and maybe some of what we still plan on. We still want to do other trips in our van. We just may need a different van. I don't know if it's wore out or not. We want to talk about packing. In this, we did avoid, sorry to you all at home that you're having the ice storm. I know that seems like an historical type of storm that we have not had in a long time. But for us, we kind of avoided the winter. We went from kind of going into the winter time to another summer. Some of the days here have been nice, but some of them have been hot. It's been historical heat waves here in the southern part of Australia. But that's okay. It's been good. Air conditioning here has been good. But so, we'll try to get out on those in-between days and things like that. And that's why we try to plan a little bit for weather and things like that. We're not trying to travel too fast, but we do get bored easily. Have to admit that. Right. So we want to see and do a lot and do it economically. So those are things that we're actually kind of excited to share. That we did a whole lot of planning. A lot of it shaped by our camper van on the things that we brought with us. And obviously you can imagine if we're going to go from summer to winter, how do you even pack a winter coat? How do you pack some things for areas when maybe the water's so? How do you plan for that? There's a lot that went into our pre-planning, and of course we hope everything we plan goes as planned. But
we'll keep you all informed and let you know.
Yeah, so I know this is getting long. We didn't want to rush through a lot of it, and to be honest, we tried to plan a little bit of what we wanted to talk about. And again, it feels like we could go on about this for hours. So comment something we kind of left out that you think maybe we skipped over. Let us know.
This is how we went in planning and in doing it. And if you guys have already retired and are traveling, maybe you did something different and you have different suggestions. So.
Yeah, I will say, I think I shared in one of the other videos, we had a little problem with public transportation. I didn't know. I think I got onto AI and said, let's travel 4 or 5 hours at a time. That's as much as I wanted to travel, and then we experienced wherever that was. So far the destination's been great, but then I realized only on certain days does public transport work, and so my plans didn't match up with travel plans. So we have already tweaked a few of our stays, and that's part of going along the way. So we'd love to know if you can give us tips and tricks on our own travel right now. Maybe an area that we don't even have on our list. So share if you say we must see this while we're here, or maybe we can come back, because I do think there's too many great things to see already in this
world is so
country,
wonderful. So
all right, well, we'll wrap up there. Hope you all are well. We're doing good, just as a quick update. And if you follow along on our series, thank you. We hope you enjoy it. And we will see you next time.
Bye.